Hello. We have some exciting new features in SmartBuilder's 4.7 release. For the full list, please see the release notes. We're going to show off a few of those new features in this video, so let's jump right in. The first new feature is our text-to-speech object. So let's go ahead and add one of those onto our page. And we're going to double-click to open up the text-to-speech editor window. I've got some text here, which I will copy and paste. And from here, I can click the play button to preview.
In botany, a tree is a perennial plant with an elongated stem.
So that sounds pretty good. From here, I can go ahead and choose different languages, as well as different voices. And when I find one that I like, I can preview again.
In botany, a tree is a perennial plant with an elongated stem.
So I think Joanna was better, so we'll go with that one. And I can also add in some different things here. So I can select a word and choose to emphasize it or make it less loud. I can also add in a timed pause. So it'll naturally pause at commas or periods, but if I want to, I can also add in a pause somewhere in the middle here. So we'll add in a brief pause here. And we'll go ahead and emphasize the word species. So I'll hit OK. And then that is added to my page. I can further configure this if I want it to show no text. I can do that over here under caption mode. I can set that to none, but by default it will show the current sentence. I can also change that to paragraph or a particular line. Additionally, I can highlight text, either the active word that is being spoken, the active sentence, or history, which will grow as it speaks. And then I can also configure the highlight color. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to turn the volume down because we'll be previewing, and turn up the speed just a little bit. I can also turn on or off a player bar if I want my learners to have control over the audio. So we'll leave that off for now. And let's go ahead and preview.
In botany, a tree
So we
is
had
a
a
perennial
1-second
plant with
pause.
an elongated stem, or trunk, supporting branches and leaves in most species. Trees are not a taxonomic group but include a variety of plant species that have independently evolved a trunk and branches as a way to tower above other.
So we can go ahead and configure that, and that can act as our caption system. Let's move on to the next new feature, which is the ability to easily add variables into our text. So let's go ahead and jump to page 3 here. And what we have here is a new notation that we can use. It's basically 2 curly brackets with the name of a variable inside of it, and then the 2 closing curly brackets. So I don't need to create an action that combines the variable value and the text around it. Simply by using this notation, it will automatically update with the variable value in here. So let's go to page 2, where we set our variable. So it's asking us to enter our name, and when the begin button is clicked, we're going to get the contents of this text input and put it in the variable, and then move on to the next page. So let's go ahead and preview. We'll type in our name, click begin, and then I don't have to have an action on this page that sets that text. It just automatically pulls it in. The next new feature is a pie chart object. So this works pretty similarly to the bar chart, except it's a pie chart. So here what we're going to do is we're going to take these 3 values from these sliders and just toss them into this pie chart, and it will automatically segment the pie to those various values. So here's the action. We're pulling in the slider values, we're giving them a name, and we're just putting that in the pie chart.data block. Additionally, we are using the variable notation, so the 2 curly braces around a variable name, to add up our slider values. So we'll use that again here. So here we go. As soon as I move these around, we can see now that the apple piece of the pie is much smaller, and bananas and cherries are equal amounts. So here, again, we can see the variable notation that's automatically pulling in the variable value without us having to do any actions to set or update that text object. We're just setting the variable value by adding these three up, and it automatically updates, as does our pie chart. The next new feature is sort of an automatic one. It is automatic image compression. So let's say we have some images in here that we're using in our lesson, and originally we brought them in at a size that was way too big. So we've shrunk them down here so that they can be used more appropriately in our lesson. However, nobody is ever going to see this image at its full size, so our learners will have to download the full-size image and then it would get scaled down. So automatically now, when you publish your lesson in SmartBuilder, it will look for the largest instance of an image and compress it down to that size. So we can go to Edit Lesson Settings, and we can see that compress images is turned on. So this will reduce sort of excess file size in lessons that use really large images but don't use them at that large size. We can, of course, turn this off simply by unchecking the checkbox. Additionally, if we choose a scaling option for desktop, that will automatically turn off because your lesson may scale up and your learners may then benefit from a larger image size. So we'll leave that turned on for now. The next new feature is the ability to copy and paste not only the coordinates of an object, but also its size. So here we have three different layers with a relatively small image, and we want to make them all larger and the same size. So we'll go to our first layer and select our image and resize it. So that size and position looks pretty good. So we'll go up to our copy and paste coordinates up here in the top toolbar and choose not only the coordinates, but the X, Y, and the width and height. So we'll copy that. We'll go to layer 2, select the object that we want to change, and then in the drop-down, choose Paste X, Y, and Width Height. So that will both move it over to the right and make it the same size. And we'll do that with our third image as well. So in the drop-down, choose our Paste X, Y, and Width Height. The next couple features include enhancements to the search in SmartBuilder. So we can go up to Edit and Search. And let's say we wanted to look for any fonts that are still Tahoma. This lesson used Tahoma extensively in the past, and we've changed it to more modern fonts. So let's look for Tahoma. And here we can see that it is being used once, and we can see additional data about it. We can see that it's a button type, and we can tell the font size, the font that's being used, and whether or not it's bold. And we can see that that is on page 7. So we can go and track that down. And we can see that topic 4 is indeed using Tahoma. So we can change that to match the style of our other buttons. Additionally, we can search inside of our action canvas now. So we can go to Edit, Search in Actions. And here we can look for specific variables, global events, anytime a string is being used, and some various other things. So I would check out the help for various use cases. They tend to be a little bit more advanced. The next new feature is the ability to drag and drop objects into drop zones that are smaller than the drag object. So for example, here, previously, this drop zone had to be larger than the drag object that was going to be placed in there. So for example, if we made this smaller and previewed it, the drag object will get dropped into the drop zone, but it won't fit, so it would get rejected. So if we tried that, we would get our correct feedback. However, it does get rejected. It doesn't physically fit within the bounds of the drop zone. So now we can go to the drag and drop object, and it has a new drop overflow property. And it has two settings here, no size constraint, which will allow us to drag bigger objects into smaller drop zones. And then typically what happens when you do that is you want no size constraint and limit to 1. So this will keep you from being able to drop multiple drag items into a single drop zone. But it also has no size restrictions. So now when we preview this, I can take a drag item and I can place it into a drop zone, and it will stay in place even though it doesn't technically fit within the drop zone. And the final new feature is just a little usability enhancement for adding tags to objects. So tags are extremely useful for creating very powerful actions, and we've just made it a little bit easier to tag objects. We put this little dot here that allows you to see where the tags begin, and you can just click on it and quickly start tagging your objects. So now I could create actions based on those tags. We hope you found this useful, and be sure to check out the full release notes for other new enhancements. Happy authoring!